Okay, let's get going. So, the question is, are your thoughts harming your marriage? So, if you listened to the last show, I was talking about my Hawaii moment. I told about how amazing it was. And after the Hawaii moment, I continued to enjoy my marriage. To tell you the honest truth, it has just gotten better and better for reals. We never argue or get mad at each other ever. Okay, that's a lie. Our marriage is really amazing compared to what it was, right? But of course, we still argue and get mad at each other. Hello, we're humans, right? I got really mad at my husband this past weekend. I mean, angrier than I have been at him in a while. So I am going to tell you about it. This podcast is about real, it's all about real marriage, like real. So I was exhausted on Friday night and I told him all the reasons why. And I'm not going to give you all the backstory, but I was exhausted, let's just say. My daughter had her friends who are twins over, and their dad came to pick them up just as we were going to bed. I mean, he came really late. Of course, he went and got gas and did all this stuff. I was calling the mom. I'm like, where is he? And it's like, oh, I think he went, he's a dad. Let's just say that. So anyway, he came to pick him up super late. And my husband quickly pulled on his clothes and went to the door to chat with his friend who was picking up his daughters. And it wasn't long before I realized that this conversation was not ending anytime soon. They were talking and they were laughing so loud. And since I learned through this work that I can't change my husband, he is an adult, right? And adults get to do whatever they want. I put in my AirPods and I listened to my meditation app and I fell asleep. Good job, me. Taking accountability for myself, not getting more and more resentful so I could blame my husband for keeping me up. So far, so good, right? I'd only been asleep for a short while when I started dreaming that the phone was ringing. And I woke up. Wait, the phone was ringing. What the heck? My husband's phone was ringing and he was being too loud in the other room to hear it. My next conscious thought was, I am so mad at him. So mad. I remembered also that he was on call and he had to answer the phone because his phone is his pager at work and he might need to go into work. So I had to grab the phone. I mean, get up, grab the phone, ran to the door. I opened it. I told my husband that his phone was ringing in not a very nice voice. When he came to get it from me, I made sure he knew that he woke me up and I was so mad. Of all the inconsiderate things to do, after I told him how exhausted I was, he apologized, but justified it by saying he forgot, he left it in the bedroom, and that didn't help his case in my mind. Let's just say I'm really tired and I wasn't doing any thought work and I wasn't feeling forgiving. So when he came back to bed much later, I was still mad. The fact was his phone rang and woke me up. My thought was he shouldn't have left his phone in our room when I was sleeping. And I was mad, as I said, and I told him I was mad at him and I couldn't fall back asleep right away. So my thoughts spun in justification for being angry. And I didn't accept his apology. I stayed awake brooding. The result was this, that I just lost more sleep. And I was basically fighting with reality, which is when you lose 100% of the time. So I'd been woken up. That was my reality. And I just wanted to fight against reality. And that's why I love this quote by Byron Katie: when you fight against reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. So truer words were never spoken. I'm usually really good at remembering this quote, but apparently not this time. So, on a side note, I coach couples who have taken the advice they got on their wedding day to never go to sleep angry at your spouse. I have to ardently disagree with this advice. Listening to couples as I'm coaching them who have fought until all hours of the night about an issue has not usually ended well. They usually don't resolve it. And even worse, in the morning, they are exhausted and even more grouchy when they try to revisit it. So, if possible, I recommend making a truce and talking about it the next day, or just keep your mouth shut. That's what I did. I didn't say, like, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. I was just like, I am going to just drop it. Right. So, why? Why do you do this? because you often wake up with a different feeling or perspective and you can get more clear. So that's just me. Do whatever you want. But I feel like the whole like don't go to bed angry has not been good for me and my marriage or for a lot of couples that I coach. So anyway, here's my own example from this situation. I went to sleep mad. I woke up in the morning. The fact still remained that my husband's phone woke me up. Okay, that's a fact. But instead of going straight to judgment and criticism, I got curious about my thought. He shouldn't have left his phone on while I was trying to sleep. That was my thought the night before, right? But why was it on? Get curious about your thoughts. It was on because he didn't realize he had left it in the room. It was also on because he was providing for our family by being on call. If he didn't work, my family would not have the food, clothes, house, cars, and life that we enjoy. I felt compassion for him that he often sacrifices to get up in the middle of the night to provide for us. This different perspective allowed me to give him grace. And this is about the time in the past where I would start to beat myself up for being a mean wife, unappreciative, and always doing it wrong. But I've also learned to give grace to myself. Of course, I would feel frustrated to be woken up when I was exhausted. When I'm mean to myself about being, acting the way I did, it's even harder to be nice to everyone else. And so I said to myself, and I want you guys to try this. I got angry and it's okay. So maybe it will be for you. I argued and it's okay. I didn't do it right and it's okay. And then your mind is going to say, how is this okay? Right? I know how to fix this. It's called daily repentance. I learned this from one of my heroes, Russell M. Nelson. I believe that there isn't a more perfect man walking on this earth than Russell M. Nelson. And he recommends and practices daily repentance. If he needs it, right, then I most certainly do. Of course I do. This is where I remind myself that I will not want to repent. You won't want to. If you're anything like me, you are never going to feel like repenting. Within 5 seconds of feeling you should apologize, your mind will start doing what mine does. I'm guessing. Why should I have to apologize first? He's the one who woke me up. Apologizing feels awkward and vulnerable and stupid. I don't want to. I will just act like nothing happened. It's no big deal. I was rude, but he didn't really apologize, right? Because if you say but after an apology, it isn't a real apology. Do you see what your brain is going to do? Your brain, or I call it the natural man, will always talk you out of it. So you have to count backwards like Mel Robbins teaches before your brain can talk you out of it. Count out loud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or just say it in your head, whatever works for you. Bite the bullet, but act. You got to move on it now or your brain chatter is going to turn on and it'll beat you every time. And you want to win. You want to win this. Okay. So after years of doing this work, it's still hard for me, but no problem. I've got this. So I go find my husband and apologize for being mean last night. And he apologizes, a real apology, for waking me up. And he gives me a hug. That's it. That's what it looks like. So let me tell you, when our marriage was in the garbage, which was for many, many years before this healing that took place, this is what the whole scenario would have looked like. In the morning, we would have pretended like nothing happened. And we most likely would have avoided each other. And there would have been this underlying feeling of resentment and anger all day. Okay, so this is a Saturday, so he's home from work and it's actually not that fun to be mad at someone all day. And I would blame him all day for being exhausted because he woke me up and then I couldn't go back to sleep. And he would have blamed me all day for being cold and distant. It feels awful. Like we did this dance for years and we just kept growing further and further apart. And we let our marriage just let our marriage be proof, your proof that this method doesn't work. And you probably know from your own experience in your marriage, this doesn't work, right? So what did the rest of my Saturday look like instead? My husband was still on call, which in the past was his excuse to stay home and do projects because he could get called in at any moment because he was actually avoiding me and he couldn't spend time with the family. Saturday is fun day for me. That is fun day. I always plan fun. So after jobs, I took the kids rock climbing and my husband joined us. We drove 2 cars partway through. He did get called into work, but he came with us. Isn't that cool? Like before, for sure, he would have had to stay home because he had to get in there if they needed him. But the reality was, he could usually have gone with us if I stay close enough to the hospital, but he just conveniently couldn't, right? So if you only knew how cool this was, that like your Saturdays don't have to look like this. And he wanted to even to be with us. And even after our struggles the night before, because like I said, normally that would have just derailed us for the day. Let's just be jerks to each other the rest of the day. Okay. So then we went to eat. I took the kids to eat. He was in the hospital. I asked him if he wanted me to grab him something. And he said he was working as fast as he could so that he could meet us at the restaurant. So he made it to the restaurant, but we had already finished eating. But I texted him, so I knew he was on his way. And I just told the kids, we're just going to wait for dad and we're just going to be with him while he eats. And we had a great conversation as we waited and he was eating. And this is such a different scenario than the past. He genuinely wanted to hang out with us, me and the kids, and he didn't make excuses. So how can you have this type of Saturday with your husband? Just imagine a similar scenario, because if you're here, it's because you have marriage issues, which everyone on the planet does. And so I just need you to know that you can change this dance. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. You'll never want to do it. That's why you have to push through it, because it's so worth it. I love this saying that insanity is just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So you got to force yourself, and it really does feel like force. Remember, like Elaine shoving somebody on Seinfeld, it will feel like you need a huge shove from Elaine to make your feet move, or to make your mouth say the words, or to move your fingers to send that text. So my challenge is this coming week, you're going to apologize for something. It could be something that happened today, something that happens tomorrow, or something in the past, something you said, something you did. It doesn't matter. You can think of something. Where's a pain point, like a serious pain point? If it's not happening today or tomorrow, or like presently right now, why do you want to do this? Because you're experimenting with being happy instead of right. My husband and I had been right for so many years in our marriage that we almost separated. It's not worth being right. If you want to feel not only good, but way better in your marriage, don't you just want to be the best version of yourself? Don't you want to embody respect and integrity for yourself and the people that you love? Don't you want to be that example to your kids of how they should treat their spouse, regardless of how they act? That's who you want to be. Ask yourself with total compassion and curiosity, no judgment, because that makes it so much worse. How do I want to show up for my family? How do I want to feel about my role as a wife? How do I want to experience my life and my marriage? And I talk to people and they're like, well, I want to get divorced. And so why do I want to do this stuff? And I say, let's say you do get divorced. Like one girl said, I'm leaving as soon as the last kid graduates, which is this May, I'm out. And she's like, so why would I care to work on this? I already know I'm leaving. And I'll give her the reason, and when you get clear on this and you start to act on it, you'll become a different version of yourself. You will be more authentically you. The way you are acting feels awful. Criticism, blame, judgment, all of it, it feels terrible, even if you're justified, even if you are absolutely right. So this begins a ripple effect in all your relationships. So this work is not just for you and your husband. Okay, you're going to learn this work, And then you're going to have a teenager. Your husband's not going to be mean to you anymore or whatever. And then you have a teenager that's super mean to you. And guess what? You are going to use this same exact formula in your relationship with your teenager. You're going to use it with your mother-in-law. You're going to use it with your sibling that you don't get along with. You're going to use it in all the difficult relationships in your life. So you'll start to be consistent. So practice with whoever's hardest for you. They are your PhD program in becoming like Jesus Christ. You'll be steadier, you'll be kinder. And you, most important point, whether you get divorced or not, you will be coming home to you. This is who you really are. This is who you were in the very beginning. So let's start to learn the pain points in our marriage relationship. Just learn from them. Your marriage is literally going to be your PhD program in becoming more like Christ. Marriage is designed to stretch you and grow you. There's nothing wrong that this doesn't look perfect. Every marriage that I've thought was perfect, I now talk to the people. They come to me because I do marriage coaching. And I realize every person on the planet has things that bug in their marriage. It was never meant to be easy. If you think that way, you are going to be so frustrated because nothing worthwhile is ever easy. Learn from the pain instead of letting it stop you and keep you stuck and take you down and limit your potential and, behave in a way that isn't who you are. You can just start making small shifts in how you think about things. This is what I teach in my coaching program. There is a step-by-step process and it works. It really works. So go to charlotteshieldscoaching.com for more on my program or keep listening. Keep listening to these shows and just get some ideas of how you can shift this in your life. If you want the fast track, buy my program for $297 and get 30 videos of exactly what I did to fix this marriage in a Christ-like and faith-based way. This is what works. I promise. I spent over $5,000 on things that didn't work. So I'm pretty sure I'm a really good authority on what actually does work. And then you spend this money and you buy the videos and you do the things and your marriage doesn't work out. You have a completely different mindset on how to treat any other relationship in your life, every difficult, painful relationship in your life, you can change with this work. So if the marriage is so in the toilet that you're like, I don't even care, I'm not going to buy your program, you're selling yourself short because you do care about your kids, or you do care about your mom and dad, or you do care about whatever, your relationship with your boss, that you have to stay in this job and you have to get along, right? So I'll just end with, as always, expect miracles. This is possible. This is possible for you. It's possible for me. And right now I'm working with a teenager doing the exact same stuff I'm teaching you here because it works. It changes your life and you become the very best version of yourself. All right, guys, thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.